Welcome to Captain Handlebar. A couple weeks ago, I had the pleasure of interviewing Jesse Hughes, or Boots Electric, from Eagles of Death Metal. It's my very first ever interview. I want to say thank you to Jesse for inviting me into your home. I really appreciate it. It was an awesome experience. And so without further ado, here's the interview. Welcome to Captain Handlebar. Today we're with
Boots Electric.
Boots Electric. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for letting me have you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what do you say to that? So.
Hey, you can't say much. First off, I want to ask, my son wants to ask, what's your favorite Bowie album?
What's my favorite Bowie album? That's from your son. Hunky Dory. It's either Hunky Dory or Man Who Sold the World. I love both of those albums equally, and I think they're complete and total albums. You know, they're long players. But Hunky Dory that's my emotional, when I'm feeling emotional, you know, album. And Man Who Sold the World's when I'm still feeling emotional, but I'm getting tough.
All right, so there you go, Rich. Eagles of Death Metal is 21 years old. How's the journey been thus far?
Wow. Rock and roll has been wonderful. It's the greatest thing that's ever been available to me. I don't even know how to answer that question because I'm like 21 years. Wow.
21 years, they can legally drink now.
It can legally do other things too.
Well, yeah.
Now we can have our way with it, but legally, artistically speaking, no. This has been the vehicle through which the greatest things that have ever happened to me, the greatest things, the best things, the things that I have been able to become the person that I would want to be through have been rock and roll. It has been I guess that makes it the most odd thing ever. You know, rock and roll is not where you would expect to find that. And it's where I did find it.
Eagles of Death Metal began in 1998 during Desert Sessions 3 and 4. Did you ever imagine what it would turn into?
No, actually, intentionally, perfectly honest with you, I was quite adamant about not wanting to do this. I thought it was fun to do for a moment, and I was getting to hang out with my best friend. But anytime Joshua would bring it up regularly, you know, you should really be in a band, I would rebuke. I would be like, no, that's ridiculous. I thought Joshua was God-made to be the ultimate Ronald Reagan, who was my hero. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Rock and roll, show business seemed like such a vanity pursuit. But I was like a werewolf who had never seen his full moon yet.
And that was your full moon?
And my full moon would come a little bit later. Because once we finished Desert Sessions, I was like, this is cool, no thanks. And I got married. Had a baby, settled down. But I had never any intention of being in a rock band. I mean, ultimately, bottom line, I never, ever wanted to be in a rock band. My father was in a rock band, and it kind of ruined my childhood. I had, you know, all those typical grudges that you will carry with you, like, well, I'm never going to be like my dad, he hurt my mom, that type of shit. So
what pushed you into doing it? Like so that was 98. You didn't come out with your first album, what, 04?
04. I went through an awful divorce. And everything I believed in, I mean, in a very cliche, corny way, but everything I believed in, everything that I thought was, I was working for that was, you know, unshakable, that, you know, I had a sense of entitlement. If I did the right thing, if I lived this way, then these things would happen. That was all shaken. And that shook everything, you know. And Joshua was worried about me. And he had started to come and visit with me. It was over the course of a few weeks. And I could tell he was trying to, like, you know, think of a way to get me out of it. So he was like, hey, you should come do this with me. You should come do this with me. So when he was like, what if you came out on the road? I was in a weird place, and I remember I got kind of upset, and I was like, what you do is nothing. It's nothing. What I've lost, I mean, I was very bitter, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so to hammer that point home, I wrote, I only want you and flames go higher. And then Joshua came back and he broke into my house because I wasn't home as early as he wanted me to be. He broke into my home and he was listening to these songs. When I got home, he's like, "Where the fuck did these come from? Can you make more?" And I remember I was still in like this, yeah, sure, dude. And he split. And then Speaking in Tongues, Who Loves the Devil, uh, Whore Hoppin', and Bad Dream Mama all came to me in dreams.
Oh, wow.
And then I wrote the whole album in a week. And then he came in, because my point was like, I'm going to show him how stupid and easy what he does is. I'm going to have a whole album's worth of material. Like, yeah, here you go, dude. I was still incredulous at the idea of even like, yeah, I'll come be in a rock and roll band. This is my life is destroyed, and you want to put me in a rock band? It was like, so when he came back and he started listening to the songs, he got a really weird look on his face, and he was, at first he was tripped. It was funny. And then his back was to me the whole time he was listening. He did not pull his face away from the computer, and he would listen to some of the songs over. He would back up, and then he'd go to the next song without saying a word. He had and then he turned around at the end of it after like 11 songs, and he goes, "When did you do this? Never mind. Where are your guns?" And he took all my guns away because my mom thought I was going to kill myself.
Oh, wow.
So he went on tour in Australia, and then he came home from Australia, and he had asked my mother, because he didn't have a vehicle, if he could borrow her car. And he picked me up at my house, and he drove me to Hollywood, to Alan Johannes' studio, and here I am. That's really how it happened. And in the car ride, I'm writing a book about the car ride. Just the car ride, because when Joshua, he had this panic look on his, like he had decided to do something, here I was getting ready to go with him, and as soon as he started the car, he goes, "Okay, listen, show business is a weird thing, and there's a few things we got to get straight, and I need you to listen to me." And he looked so worried, and I took it extra serious. I was like, okay, dude, yeah. He goes, "Okay, this kind of business is the sort of thing that a person will trade their wonderful life for probably not going to make it shot." He goes, "This is a powerful thing, and I don't want to do that to you. I need you to listen to me." I'm like, okay. And he proceeded to give me this guidebook of rules. This incredibly inspired, one of the most truly inspired things that I've ever heard a person, and it came from the best possible place of deep concern, of deep love and deep worry that he was going to bring one of his neighborhood friends to ruin. I could see it all in his face, and it's important because that was my very first step in an official way into rock and roll, was one that was grounded in my ability to see the most beautiful things in my best friend. And it gave me a sense of, okay,
Relief.
a trust, and a willingness to go for it without pulling any punches. And his set of rules were so amazing, man. I mean, and it started with, all these things will be modified and their meanings will change. But starting here, you're only going to have the friends you come in with. Remember that. Count your friends, take a note of who they are. Okay? If it looks like an Indian, it smells like an Indian, it ain't John Wayne. Mm. Be loyal to those, dude, it was, and I had nothing else. I had nothing to lose except for one friend I could trust. And I committed to it, and I committed to those rules like they were the fucking Bible. Like literally, I took them literally, and I would never betray them, and I would endorse and follow them and strengthen them, and that's not normally how you come to rock and roll. It normally starts with stabbing your brother in the back.
So it's a complete opposite on that.
From Jump Street, it never felt like there was anything typical about this.
Totally, wow. So you were at 11 AD recording the album. How long did it take you to record the album?
3 days.
3 days. When was your first gig?
The first technical gig was a gig that Joshua threw me onto to make me go do alone with my drum beats and my friend Rick at the Knitting Factory, which was very scary. It was very intense. And you stand behind a curtain, and the curtain opened up, and somebody made a YMCA joke, and I started the show off with, "Just because you want to fuck me doesn't mean I'm gay," and everyone laughed, and we launched into it. And When the curtain opened up, it was Elijah Wood, the entire cast of a TV show called Just Shoot Me, all lining the front row. And I was like, oh, Jesus. Great. And then we went on tour with Placebo. That was our first tour. And the first show I ever played in Europe was at the Met Bar at the Met Hotel in London. And it was insane.
You said before that you don't have stage fright.
Never had it.
So even those first shows, no stage fright, nothing, just get up there?
The stage never worried me. The people watching me, you only have to be worried if you aren't sure what you're going to do. And the only thing that they're going to know is what you tell them. And you have an advantage because they've come to see you. That's not pressure.
Yeah.
But it just depends on how you see it. I enjoy what I do. It's probably corny, but I look forward to going out to be with them, the audience. I love it. And I always had this sense of what we were doing from the get-go. First of all, it's like Josh was on drums. Hilarious. We're dick shaking. Great.
Yeah.
The obvious way is always the best way, I think. The way it should be done is the way it will be done, if you will allow for it.
The way you guys sounded on Desert Sessions as opposed to that first album, was that just because you were taking it seriously? Or...
Well, the way the band started is we were in a bar called the Beer Hunter, and this dude was really drunk. It was like a local bar, and it was myself, Joshua, our friend Kevin Lee, and our friend Cole Lou. And they had a jukebox, and this dude put on the Scorpions' Winds of Change. And he then started to rock out, like with these extreme, physical undulations, and we were kind of like looking at each other like, what is this? And he finally noticed it because he was like moving around the bar, and he goes, what's wrong? You don't like rock and roll? And I went, dude, come on, this isn't rock and roll, dude. And he goes, what? This is heavy metal. And literally, like, went around the table, literally my friend Cole Lou goes, well, this isn't heavy metal. And then he goes, this is death metal. And Joshua goes, kind of like the Eagles of death metal. And then we all started laughing, and it became this running joke for the night. And later on that night, we were smoking a weed, and our friend Kevin Lee had this green 1969 Volkswagen van. It couldn't have been more appropriate. It was painted this, like, army green with black lines. And it had a license plate that said doomed. So just imagine this scene. We're in a parking lot in the middle of like 3 a.m. and there's smoke billowing out of the windows of this VW bus that has a license plate that says fucking doomed. I mean, it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
And I love graham crackers, and we had been at a Ralph's in the course of our drunken antics and loaded antics, and so I bought a box of the brown generic packaged graham crackers, just say graham crackers. And Cole, we're sitting in the van, and Cole Lou, who loved death metal, goes, let's listen to some real death metal, you guys. And everyone's like, come on, and nobody wanted. And he's like, no, seriously, check this out. I'll put on Vader. And he put on Vader, and I'm eating graham crackers, and I go, dude, put on the Eagles of death metal. And I've been spraying. And Kevin Lee, who was sitting in the front, every time I would talk, he'd go, who's eating pie? Why do I smell a crust? So this situation was coming where one after the other, everyone would go, that doesn't sound like Eagles of death metal. Well, dude, we were just busting Cole Lou's balls. And it was funny because Kevin Lee was so high, he just kept turning around going, who's eating cake? Who's eating pie? Because he smelled the graham crackers. So I got dropped off. I lived with Larry Lawley and Gary Arcee at the time, who were in a band called Fatso Jetson and a sort of quartet. And at about 9 o'clock that following morning, Gary Arcee comes to my bedroom and he wakes up and he goes, dude, Josh is here. You gotta fucking deal with him. What the fuck is wrong with you guys? And he was just like, oh. I'm like, what? So I go outside and Joshua was standing in my foyer going, dude, what would Eagles of Death Metal actually sound like? He must have been thinking about it all fucking night long. Like, he had become like fixated on it after we all left, which is amazing. And I'm like, I don't know, dude. And I'm like walking to the kitchen to get some milk. And he's like, no, seriously, let's set up. And this house that I lived at was amazing. The garage had been converted into a rehearsal studio, a complete studio. And so it was, if you wanted to play music, you could go to this house and literally you walked up, you got up, you walked into the room and it was ready to go. Everything. It was a dream. It was an artist's, hive.
Yeah.
And he starts going in there and he goes, I can't play drums. And I'm like, well, why don't you just use the floor tom and the snare and the hi-hat? And he goes, yeah, great idea. And he goes, come in here. And I'm like, what, dude? And he goes, what would it sound like? And I'm like, Eagles of Death Metal. And he goes, be serious. And whenever he would ask me to do that, even if I wasn't into whatever he was talking to, we have this sort of friendship, I'll be like, okay. What do I think Eagles of Death? I don't know. Like stripper beats with like cowboy, like hip hop meets country music.
Yeah. Slide guitar.
And he goes, okay, sit down and do it. And I'm like, ah. So we sat down and then I'm like, no, dude, play like zombies, like the band is like doom chak doom doom doom, like those kind of beats. And he's like, yeah, absolutely. And then we added that kind of shit, which was like 60s psychedelic, to hillbilly music, modified, tailor-made for like, I call it the Bachman Turner overdrive machine. That that's the Bachman Turner overdrive machine. I never endeavored to suggest, and when I came into music, I came into it in such a way where my attitude was like, look, check your ego at the door. I just want to make good rock and roll. I'm not going to pretend like I invented this shit or like I'm coming up with something new, but I want to endeavor to be the same as Little Richard. I mean, I believe in my heart that Angus Young, who's one of the all-time ultimate greats, cannot be disputed, is not hiding the fact that he loves Chuck Berry by his duck walk. Mm-hmm. He's hearkened himself to the same membership, which is greater, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Than trying to pretend like you made it up for a bunch of children.
Well, no, everything's already been done anyway.
There is nothing new.
Yeah.
Nothing new whatsoever under the sun. There is nothing new under the sun. And if you look at it like that, if everything is stealing, just steal from the best.
Make it your own. So okay, you said that you wrote the first album in like a week, right? Recorded in 3 days.
Yeah. It was recorded and mixed.
How did the recording and writing process change?
I wrote everything, and it's always remained that way. And Joshua always, you have to look at what this band is in a way for Joshua. This is not a side project.
Yeah.
We actually started technically before Queens.
Yeah.
But of course it's going to be looked at in that way unless you prove something, which I think we've done. But that being said, this is Joshua's opportunity to be in a band for real. That he doesn't have to
worry about fronting it.
Or any of that shit. So, and one of the great joys of our friendship and one of the great interactions is the opportunity to bring him songs that I think are gonna, because he's my hero. Even though he's a year younger than I, he's my hero. He's the absolute best person I know, and he's my hero because he's managed to come into this world, this sleazy ass world of showbiz, and not become corrupted by the typical shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's a good man. He's a good husband. He wants to be a good father. All these things are super, super important. And I love bringing in music like, what do you think about this? Like to be like, oh, you thought you were so smart. Aha, I got your tricks. I always endeavored to learn and be like, I've always endeavored that instead of looking at our friendship as something that requires him to make it so I can get away with shit, I always wanted to be, if he brought me here, I wanted him to be so happy he did. Mm. And then I knew that if they were coming to see the band for him, I needed to make them forget him once they got there, happily.
I think you succeed every show I've seen.
Oh, well, thank you, buddy. But it was difficult to avoid. The real traps came with like the press and shit, because the questions, it was always easy. The bait was constant of, what's it like being in Joshua's shadow? Now, most people will bristle at that and be like, I'm not gonna, and what ends up happening is you end up becoming angry at your friend for nothing.
Yeah.
For doing nothing but help you. So I had to have a way to immunize myself from that, and it started with the shadow, baby, I'm in the shade, and you got it made in the shade. And I was gonna climb that ladder, but I was like, gosh, that's really tall. Can I get under your coattails, Joshua? Will you let me get on your coat? Will you climb me up there? And he took me right to the top, and I'm not sorry. The way I look at it, if you pull the sword from the stone, it's much more impressive than being elected.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems that way.
Yeah. As far as live, what's your favorite song to play live? Or do you have one?
I do that. I
What
always.
about your babies?
I write so many good songs that it's really hard to pick between them because I only steal hits. Like I only go from the top one or whatever it is. Whatever I'm going to do, I never take no misshapen pearls. But I love to do Moon Age Daydream, and I love speaking in tongues. I love the moments. Mostly, I love the songs that allow for the moments that are the best. We're a live band, and we've always endeavored to remain a live band. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Truly a live band where the true experience, the experience of rock and roll, what the insight, the doorway that we're able to help open up into the spirit, like the fucking supernatural world of rock and roll, is through the live experience. And that's what keeps you alive forever.
What's your favorite venue to play in?
That's a tough one. I like the Roxy. I love the Troubadour. I love the Henry Fonda.
What's one
I
that you
love-
don't like?
I won't even speak their name. I like the Old White Trash in Berlin was amazing. Coco's, Madame Jojo's in London. What's the venue in Norway? It's so fucking rad. And then, you know, festivals. I mean, I just really genuinely love what I do.
Yeah.
And I've never, when we go on tour, I never compare one show to the other. I never think like, fuck, we had a bad show. No, I only compare the show to itself. And the show's good or badness is only going to be based upon how the day went that day and how the day ended that day. Mm-hmm. Comparing them to the other shows is folly. It just seems pointless to me.
Yeah.
And it makes it so you have a much bigger potential bump. Why put that pressure on yourself? Like, instead of, you're not lowering the bar, you're just lowering the daily average. And it's made it so it truly is honestly difficult for me to pick my favorites when it comes to rock and roll. Because I've been doing it long enough now where the whole thing is becoming my favorite. You know? The whole life. The whole thing, yeah.
Yeah. Of all your albums, which one do you hold closest to your heart?
The Rolling Stones' Beggar Banquet. Just kidding. Zipper Down is burned into my heart.
Yeah.
Or more like my heart was cut open and it was placed inside of it. That has a unique. That's almost a different category, and it's almost not even fair to put them in the same category. Mm-hmm. The first album, of course, but again, it's gotten to the point. I mean, the covers album was awesome.
Yeah,
I fucking loved it, and it was some of the best critical success that we've gotten in terms of the way the press regarded it, which is really cool because I did all the production on it.
Well, I just thought it was funny how you released it essentially twice.
Well, I wanted it to be a limited release, slightly different than what the major label would get.
Yeah.
And really all it is it's like the first run vinyl, and it allows the label to see it as a test run.
Yeah. Well, I bought one. I thought it was good.
Did you get the last hurrah one?
Yeah.
There's a couple different songs on it.
Yeah. No, and I anytime I've had like a barbecue or whatever, and I've got people over and I'm not sure what their taste in music is, I'll put that one on.
Oh, take it.
I'm like, if it's not that one, then it's an ELO record.
ELO you can't lose with.
Nah.
But if you notice now that if anybody can get the major label release, but now only you have the other songs.
Yeah.
So it endears it, it makes it a club.
Yeah. The newest album, speaking of the newest album, the best songs we never wrote. Were there any songs left out?
Of course.
Is there any particular one that you wish was on there?
Well, I've always intended to do this as a series,
Okay.
a songbook. My dream is to have a collection, each album, because my model is Tom Waits. Whatever he does, it's legitimate.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. I love music. I truly love what we do. I love rock and roll. I love the culture and the American concept of boogie blues. I love it, and I want to help maintain it and keep it alive, so to speak.
Someone's got it.
Well, once you endeavor to be a part of it, whatever your part in the process, be it listener or performer, it's all valuable. I'm not even sure where I was going with that answer. Because
Well, no. So it's a songbook. You want?
yeah, that's so. I
you
mean,
want
so
series
I
of-
when at the conclusion of this, I'll play you some of those songs.
Okay. I'm so glad I can edit shit.
Editing is the best tool.
Okay. Speaking of best songs, what's your favorite song that you wrote? You wrote. I mean, they're all good. But is there one in particular one that just always you listen to it and you're like, damn, I can't believe I did that.
No Fun off the Boots Electric album. I love that song.
Okay. In April, you're headed to New Zealand and Australia. How do you prepare for touring?
What's the audience that we're having there? Is this family?
You can say whatever.
I get surfboard wax, and I start waxing my chub for 3 weeks before while
So you haven't even started yet.
while watching Magnum PI on repeat every episode from the first season to the last, and listening to Jailbreak by Thin Lizzy on repeat. And once that process is done, that's when shit gets for real. I have an animatronic sex doll that is basically the body of Little Richard. The asshole is Keith Richards' face. The dick is George Clinton. The arms are the Wigglers from a big squid. And the head is Bootsy Collins' dick. So...
Someone's got to design that.
And I got to get down with that, like for a whole week. And it's like a crazy animatronics designed by some pretty badass dudes.
So doesn't that wear you out?
Yeah, it does. 'Cause you got to wrestle with it, and you got and it's gonna try to kiss you, but it's fucking Bootsy Collins' dick. It's like crazy.
What band are you touring, or who's in your band?
Joshua Hove, though I believe properly it's pronounced Hoshua Hove.
Will he be there?
Joshua
Yeah,
Hove.
New Zealand and.
Yeah, he's now the permanent new guitarist.
Oh, okay.
And myself and Jenny V, Miss Jenny V, and Jorma, and Eric Epple, and the whole gang.
Sweet. So Tommy won't be with you.
See, the reality is why the fuck would I ever want him on the stage with me? I only want people to look at me.
Well, that's true.
So,
Plus, if you can find him.
besides, we need him to, when he lets me tour with Queens of the Stone Age, then I'll be like, cool with him.
Come on back.
Oh, well, now that I'm touring your band, yeah, come do this. But then again, I miss it. But then it makes the times that he does tour, because what we're thinking about doing is a Roots, like Eagles in the Nest, like an Eaglet like type tour where it's just Joshua and I doing the first album
Oh, cool.
from beginning to end. That's something that would be awesome.
Yeah.
It would be awesome.
Well, I remember the first time I heard Eagles of Death Metal was on MySpace. They had like the live, yeah, that's how long it was, MySpace. You had like, you were playing live somewhere. I don't remember where it was, but it was just a live recording of all your stuff. At least from the first album. Wow. And I was listening to it going, holy shit, when are they coming out with an album? And when and where can I pick it up? Because I was in a garage band back then, and I was just looking for new music left and right.
Well, while Joshua was on tour, I was taking from Jump Street, before the first album even came out, different incarnations of Eagles of Death Metal, because I always wanted it to be like the special forces of rock and roll, where the greatest from all the different bands in the world are called upon to serve in the Eagles of Death Metal. And that's, it was, in a way, it was making a super group before all the members were super.
Mm-hmm.
Reverse engineering in reverse,
Yeah.
which is confusing.
It's fast backwards. So are you working on anything new?
Yeah, Joshua and I are making a new record right now. We started the process about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, sweet. So you've got, is everything already ready?
Oh yeah. I write all the time, and as a result, I'm stealing all the time. And just like anybody in Forbes, you can amass a fortune of songs, which I'm happy to say I've stolen so many.
Where are you guys recording it at?
It'll be recorded at Pink Duck most likely, but I've used it as an opportunity and a reason to justify getting a new Pro Tools rig on the budget. So my house, and I've been getting into I've been getting into my engineering fixes a little bit more. So Joshua comes here like every morning and hangs out with me, like in Ozzy and Harriet. Mm-hmm. And I want to be able to, if we have an idea here, to record it and it be able to be taken, not even a demo, I want the tracks to be able to be taken right into another studio and be that quality. So in order to do that, I have to have on a small scale, like a 4-input recording studio that's mobile.
Yeah.
So it'll probably be, and at Valentine's my favorite studio in LA. It's the greatest studio. Valentine.
Will Alan be there to master?
Of course. Alan is an indispensable part of my life. He and Natasha were like my surrogate parents here. They sort of took that role unofficially, always like reporting to my mother. And whenever there was something like important happening that marked like an accomplishment for me, if they would always be there to represent it, they were always genuinely proud. Alan is very important to me.
Cool. Thank you. That concludes.
That was awesome.
Well, I've got shit. I could probably ask you a dozen more questions, but I don't want to push your time. I'm just like overwhelmed by how you started. It's awesome. I mean, in high school, trying to start a band with a couple of friends, and it was just.
It was never lost on me how fortunate I was. I saw the fortunate opportunity immediately. I respected and appreciated immediately what it was Joshua was offering to me. And I could also see that most people wouldn't be seeing it. And it gave me this like, they brought the wrong motherfucker here sort of attitude. And I also liked the idea of being Joshua's loyal agent. Because he was made by God to lead people. He was.
Well, he saved you several times.
He saved many people. He is a natural, truly, one of the most God-given, talented, natural leaders I've ever known, with built-in moral instincts. I mean, that's rare. Truly built-in morality where, like, in high school, bullies would stop picking on people when you turn the corner and walk. And if they were about to, they'd be like, oh, this... Just talking to my buddy Jesse here, like, for real.
Yeah.
He at lunch he would have grouper fish. I mean, and I believe that this is probably some sort of observable thing. The nerds and the people that got picked on would just stay close to him at lunch within eye shot because nobody would fuck with you then. But we have a deeper history. My mother went to Bob Jones, so did his mother. I met him in 1979, and we liked each other immediately.
That's awesome.
And when we played soccer together in high school, and that was when we really were... I had not many friends. I was really kind of a weirdo. And he was just so entertaining. He was a 6'5" Viking monster. Already then, truly, he was a giant, dude. And he's proportionally large, so he's technically got gigantism. That's how he's classified. So when he gets like pneumonia, he can sing in a perfect falsetto. Oh, I just forgot that we're on lives.
Facebook is awesome. 39 comments.
Oh, I love you guys.
I really appreciate your time.
Oh, brother,
Thank you
my
so much.
my time is your time, dude.
Awesome.
Shit, my kids are gonna be jazzed.
Yeah.
Dude, this is awesome.
Did you see Super Troopers?
Yes. Oh my God.
That might be something fun.
I love Super Troopers.
Blinded by the light.
Well, I think between you and I, we're going to be doing the next one.
Will they be doing the next one?
Yeah, they are doing the next one. And
Dude, I love it when they're playing. They were pretending to play your music.
no, dude, they came and watched us to like study us. It was like actors.
What was the name of their band in that?
Crackle Bacon.
Yeah, correct.
How sweet it is.
What was it like? Like,
It was awesome. It was a unique process, dude. It was watching the movie and writing it to the
yeah.
and interestingly, they rejected a couple of them because they were too funny. Like I got so into it, I was making, and I also didn't know what the rules were. I didn't know that on average most people only make about 20 individually unique pieces of music, and I made one for every scene change. So I made like 66 pieces of music, which made it go above and beyond the Call of Duty, and then it gave it like this like organic glue that sort of bound. Like I thought it was great. I thought it worked perfect.
No, the music was great. I'm Blinded by the Light was awesome. Wrapped up like a douche, and you guys like enunciated douche.
Yeah, because it was Deuce, but let's be honest, like nobody fucking gave a shit
Everybody
about
says
that.
it's douche. Who's the one that farted at the end?
Me. Because, see, I fucking hate Bruce Springsteen, and that's a Bruce Springsteen song.
Yeah.
And I fucking hate Bruce Springsteen. I fucking hate him, dude. And when they came to me and they were like, will you please do this song for the movie? I was like, no. No chance. There's no way. And they were like, oh man, that's too bad because Bruce Springsteen already signed off on it, and he just told us not to do the Man for Man version. And I went, wait a minute, he hated that version? They were like, yeah, and I went, I'll do it.
So is that why it's not on Best Songs We Never Wrote?
Well, I always do covers. It's kind of like one of my things, and I'm just like including it.
I guess my main question for that is like, do they ever plan on releasing the Super Troopers 2 soundtrack on vinyl?
Yeah, I think they were intending to. I thought it was already done.
That's interesting.
Well, folks, that was the interview. I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to like and subscribe to the channel. Hopefully I'll have more interviews. Hopefully I'll get a chance to interview Jesse Hughes again. It was quite an experience. I learned quite a bit from it. It was it's definitely something I'll look back on with fond memories. So thanks again, Jesse. Thanks again to Sharon, who helped facilitate the interview. And thank you to all my subscribers. I appreciate it. Don't forget to do a thumbs up, subscribe down below, and I will catch you on the B-side. Rock on.